Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to be part of this business seminar. So my name is Dillon. I'm the branch manager of One West Bank, soon to be First Citizens Bank, but not official yet. So I have three panelists with me, so I'll allow them to introduce themselves, starting with Adam.
All right, my name is Adam Knight. I'm actually the board president of the Duarte Chamber of Commerce and the owner of Pro Managed Print Production here in Duarte. We do all kinds of printing and branding needs, and I know some of you guys are my customers, so thank you. Nice to see you today. This is...
Hello guys. My name is Alex Cabrera. I currently run the Duarte location here in Cabrera's Mexican cuisine. We have 3 locations. We provide delicious Mexican food, drinks, cocktails, anything you can think of, guys. And we're just happy to serve you guys and happy to be here.
I'm Kelly Quezada with Lemon Drop Cookie Shop. I'm also right here in Duarte on Huntington and Highland. We do custom cookies and gourmet cookies. We do edible photo printing, which makes us a little unique, and then we can put anything on a cookie and customize any order to anything you would need.
All right, thank you, panelists, and thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. We wanted to have this seminar, and I invited these panelists today because I felt like they represented the most common businesses we have in the city. And many of you guys know we've obviously been through a pandemic, and I feel like some of our businesses really thrive, and we had a few challenges here and there, which everyone went through. So I wanted these 3 panelists here to kind of answer some questions, and that's why today's seminar is called Moving Forward, to see how we can continue moving forward, continue to grow our businesses. So the first thing I wanted to bring up to our panelists, and this question will start with Adam, is I want you to talk to me about the elements of your business that made you successful during the pandemic, please.
Sure. I'll start by saying successful is kind of up for definition when you're in a pandemic as to what that could mean. For me, I think there's a couple of things. One was diversification of my customer base, not being reliant upon just one line of business. Now I recognize different types of businesses are able to do that easier than others. For us, we do printing, so what worked well last year were things like graduation yard signs, the election, we did pretty well with that. But there were product lines that I wasn't necessarily expecting were always going to do well, and historically hadn't been something that had done well. So being able to change direction at a moment's notice, and not just in trying to start something new, but also in stopping something that's not working. And that was one of the big things I think for us last year, because we were throwing everything we could at the wall to see what was going to stick. And, some things didn't, and being able to very quickly put your ego aside and say, okay, this isn't working, time to stop, move on, do something else.
Yeah, great. I think a lot of people were kind of in the same boat there, and just making changes as fast as possible, and seeing what'll work. Over to you, Alex. Same question, please.
Number one would probably pivoting. I feel like with restaurants right now, it's, to say difficult is the least. It's, during this pandemic, we never stopped. I remember receiving the text message or the announcement that the restaurants have been shut down, and it was shocked like anyone else saw you when getting that message. It was scary. I mean, it was gloomy that day too. It was raining. I remember I was with my wife, and seeing that was like, no way, like they shut us down, what are we gonna do? But pivoting is telling, we got all together the next morning and we said, hey, are we gonna continue opening or are we gonna close? And we said, no, let's do this. Whether it's just me by myself and one cook, and that's exactly how it was. It was literally just myself in the front. There was no servers. We unfortunately had to not lay off, I guess just furlough some of the employees at the moment, and going forward and keep pushing and doing what you could and maneuvering how you could. And I feel like restaurants, what hurt them a lot was closing down and shutting down. we lost a lot of customer base in that first week. I feel like it was very key, and that really helped us move forward in everything we did. Even putting the tents, we were the first. I believe we were one of the first restaurants to put in San Gabriel Valley the tents up in front. And if you ever pass through Route 66 and you see our tents, they were literally up the next day. It was literally me and my dad. We called, we found a tent. We called them, hey, can you come and install? We came and installed, and boom. Pivoting was very essential to our business and successful to our, I guess, success, quote unquote.
Yeah. And I think you guys did that transition or pivoted really quickly, and it really helped. It's nice seeing Cabrera being up in, being a staple here in the city really to us. So really seeing you guys seeing the success is important. And then I do want to open it up for questioning at the end. So if anyone has any questions, I just want to remind you, go ahead. I'll give you a few minutes at the end of the seminar to ask any questions to the panelists. And then, so I want to ask the same question to Kelly, please.
Yeah, for me, it was also pivoting, and it was, I felt like the change for me went back to when I ran the business myself. And it was just me. I didn't have any staff. I unfortunately had to let all my staff go as well. And they all just came in, helped me a little bit every now and then, but they were not able to work. So we had the advantage of being able to bag and seal our cookies. So any cookie that went out my door could be bagged and sealed. That was huge because everybody was calling and asking if I could do that and telling me that a lot of people weren't doing that for them. So we were still able to serve our customers, get things to our clients, corporate businesses that still had things they wanted to send to their employees or still had events they wanted to send to for some of their staff and their clients to say thank you. And we were able to keep doing that for them. So that was huge for us.
Yeah, great. Sounds like pivoting's been the common theme for everyone, and just really finding a way to get around it. And of course, there's really no good answer around it. Any way around it is a positive. And with that being said, I obviously the three of you guys all, businesses all kind of been successful coming out of the pandemic a little more, and we're not necessarily completely out of the dark yet, as you guys know. So my next question, and I'll start with Adam again, is with everything still kind of, we're out of the pandemic a little bit, but we're still kind of in the dark. And do you see any headwinds that, you see possibly holding you back moving forward?
Sure. I think the challenge is instability. I think that's what a lot of businesses have been faced with. I know that ours has. We were blessed enough with the changes that we made in our business model that last year we actually saw some of our best months. And even this year, we've seen some of our best months ever since we opened our doors. But we've also seen some of our worst months. And I think that, there's so many factors that could impact that, whether it's, businesses closing down, the impacts of supply chain, the impacts of staffing. There's a lot of things that could potentially impact it. For me, it's an odd one because a lot of our customer base is branding and marketing, and the common, I really want to say common sense, the right thing to do is that when business slows down, you invest in marketing. But the reality is that when business slows down, that's the first thing people cut is printing and marketing. And so that's where, for us, it's just that unknown right now in terms of headwinds. So, until we see some stable years where we're, kind of flattened out, I'm not really sure what those headwinds could be.
Yeah, and unknown is something that I hear very with a lot of my business customers as well. And also one thing that you mentioned is supply chain problems. Supply chain problems is a huge issue right now, and that's something we'll kind of get into a little later. So thank you, Adam. So Alex, same question. I see you guys got the tent set up outside. We had the breakfast this morning for any of you that were able to attend. What are some of the challenges that you see that may hold you back moving forward from reopening or continue reopening?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the common theme again is instability, the thing of the unknown of right now we're seeing COVID cases rising and trying to stay positive, but judging how the pattern is of how it's been going, we have to prepare. whether that's they shut us down and let us go just outside, whether that's shut us down and just do to-goes only. It's a matter of preparing for the future. This forced our business model, how we run it, up to quickly adapt, and coming together and overcoming these challenges of instability, of having a plan for the future. What are we gonna do if they shut us down? Okay, no worries, we're gonna be doing this and this and this, or restructuring our plan, I guess you could say, would probably be the best way of moving forward, and having all avenues open and not being like, oh no, this didn't work. I mean, this didn't work in the past, but this might work in the future. So I guess just always restructuring your plan in the future, especially how we do it on now, we're going in blind. So,
Yeah, great. Thank you. One of the things that Adam, that you brought up was one of the first things that businesses cut is the marketing, right? So which kind of makes it more challenge for you to advertise and get out more. So things are open a little bit more. I want to go to Kelly on this one. Have you addressed your marketing needs? In this ever-changing economic times and just with all the challenges going around. If you can answer that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was tackling my weakness, which is social media. Not my forte. So I finally actually reached out to a company that I use for all of my social media marketing, and decided that in spite of what was happening, that is where my money needed to go. And it paid off. Like Adam, I had my best year ever in this last year. So it was amazing what honing the different skills I had, figuring out who needed to tackle the ones I don't have when I really felt I shouldn't be spending that money, paid off.
Yeah.
And that was big. That was a big jump for me, but that was really the payoff.
Yeah, no, wonderful. I mean, I'm not very big on social media either, but I know many people out there are huge on social media. It's how word is really getting across all platforms now. It's how businesses are really. It's not ads on the TV, or it's not ads, and it's everything social media nowadays. So I think it's so great to see that you were able to succeed even when we're having such a challenging time. So that's awesome. Thank you. And then I'll pose the same question to you, Alex. I know you guys do a lot of things with the chamber, promote within the chamber. Anything that you've done differently as far as the marketing needs with this ever-changing economic times?
I think what really helped us is we didn't change anything. We marketed the same way we were marketing in the past. We've always been very aggressive of marketing. We found a company back then, and then it was kind of several companies until we found the right person to do our advertisement. And once we stuck with her, it helped us tenfold. And we didn't stop marketing, and that's the first thing, whether we had little funds in our account at that time, and we all got together, let's not stop putting funds in our marketing, because this is what's going to help us. This is how it's going to get the word out. People need to know we're open for to-go. People need to know that we have an outdoor patio, and not stopping is what truly saved us, I feel, truly, with our marketing.
Nice. And how many years have you guys been open, Cabrera's?
We're going to go on our anniversary this September for 36 years.
Wow, congratulations. And I guess that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter what kind of marketing you do, whether it's the same old thing you've been doing for the longest time or it's something that you're changing. It's about what's working for you. And I think it's so important. And congratulations again on the anniversary. So I kind of want to move forward from that. I want to kind of start talking about something that is going on in the world, which I don't know if you guys follow a lot of the economics data, but year-over-year inflation data has shown that it's increased. I think it's 5.4% year-over-year inflation, which is kind of incredible. And it's really been a challenge for a lot of businesses. So I'll start with you, Adam, again. And I want to ask you, how are you addressing the rising costs when it comes to inflation?
The doom and gloom question. It's a tough one. Within the print industry right now, paper costs some of my papers are up 60%. You know, we've got some paper that we can't even get because, you know, you keep hearing the phrase broken supply chain, but I don't think that that really properly explains what's going on because there's a lot of different pieces that are impacting it. I just found out the other day that the company that manufactures the chemical that's used to break down wood and turn it into the pulp for gloss papers, that company went out of business during the pandemic, at least the one that my paper supplier had been using. So there's a lot of gaps in the supply chain in addition to the impacts that have happened because of, you know, whether it's the supply chain itself with the trucking industry or the shipping, you know, shipments coming from overseas. There's a lot of things that are impacting it and prices are definitely going up. One thing that I've done, whenever we've done price increases, I try to be very strategic about how I do it. You know, it's easy to just look at your prices and say, you know, 10, 20% across the board, everything's going up. But you really need to know your P&L. You need to understand where those sales are coming from and where those price increases could potentially be absorbed easier. You know, for us, we look at our different lines of business. What customer base could potentially absorb price increases or necessarily wouldn't impact them quite as much, but might have a bigger impact on our bottom line. So I've actually been going through that process right now. You know, so far, you know, I've renegotiated prices with a couple of our contract customers that were totally understanding, luckily. The ones that would not be as understanding, I'm not even asking them. You know, it's like, you know, I'll try to avoid that conversation, and ultimately I try to protect my retail customers as much as possible so that when they walk in the door, you know, they might not have the budget that another company would have.
Yeah, I mean, touchy subject with any customer that you have when it comes to inflation, rising costs, anything surrounding rising costs is kind of a touchy subject. But, you know, we're all kind of hoping that, and there's a lot of talks that if inflation could be transitory, you know, we're already seeing some of the things that's impacted already come down a little bit, but there's still a lot of areas in different industries that are still really being affected. When we talk about rising costs, I think I'm really curious for a restaurant industry, how you guys are managing with this rising cost, and are you passing it down to your customers, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very the subject of inflation and prices rising and supply chain and all that. It's been going up dramatically ever since the pandemic, or I guess once we started going back into business after, I guess, during the pandemic, and it was hard for us on raising prices, and we're very hesitant at raising prices because it's like, it's not the time, especially with a lot of people out of work. Let's not do it. We were scared to raise prices during these times, and even though we needed it, everything got up, especially with the food and labor. It was killing us. You're talking about something with like flat meat, which is our very base meat that we get, going from $8 a pound going all the way to $14 a pound. So nearly doubling. And with the restaurant industry, every cent counts, every cent matters. Unfortunately, that's the way it is with the restaurant business. And we just had to be more cautious on the line on telling our kitchen staff, hey, controlling the portions was a big thing for us. Controlling every single portions, making the recipes of what we were going to use, not just having recipes just there. Oh, let's make this. Oh no, if it hasn't been selling this week, let's only make half a recipe of something like that. But it's a little hard to determine what's going to push this week of the menu, which way it's not. So I guess to answer your question with inflation, it's a matter of controlling what you can, and when you can't, it's out of your hands. And hopefully, once you do raise the prices, that's people are still going to come back and seeing if we raise it too much or always revamping. But we've been definitely going off our menu every 6 months now, seeing what works and what doesn't for us.
Yeah. And you brought up another really key point in there, which is labor prices also increasing. I think a lot of people are also seeing that being a huge challenge because, you know, we still have the unemployment benefits that are going on today, which some states have cut off, but, you know, other companies have been having to pay more to employees than they ever have. to find staffing due to the labor shortage. So, and speaking of inflation on chicken and food, I miss paying $1.29 for chicken leg meat versus now $2.49. But hopefully that'll settle down a bit soon. So I'll pose the same question to Kelly. I'm really curious how the industry has affected you with the increasing costs.
A lot of what you heard from Alex. For me, it's vanilla. Vanilla's $64 for, a bottle that big. And we use pure vanilla. We haven't changed that. So I think the biggest way we tackled it, we did just redo our pricing model. I was like you. I was afraid to do it during the pandemic. And we were just back and forth. Finally did it just recently. But really, mostly I think how I tackled it was like Alex working with my staff that I now have back. And it was teaching them part of the culture that we have there at the shop is efficiency. And it is trying to gauge the instability of who's coming in to buy cookies today or tomorrow, because whatever's fresh today isn't fresh tomorrow. So there's a lot of that. So it was kind of training them mostly on that and maintaining the quality at the same time. But it's a tap dance. Trying to stay in tune with that when your business is real unstable and very fluctuating. And I'm buying all my stuff right now at Smart and Final. I can't get flour delivered. I can't get powdered sugar delivered. I couldn't get brown sugar delivered. I couldn't get butter delivered this week. It was crazy. There was something in the bakery industry. So it's really been just a lot of runaround, which time is money.
Yeah.
I don't like running around.
Yeah. And you brought up a really funny point about you going up to Smart and Final and buying what you need. I mean, I had another customer who owns a small mini mart. He's like, I'm not able to get Pepsi products because they don't have enough drivers to deliver him. So he ran to Smart and Final himself, got a couple of cartons and just brought them in to sell himself at the same price that he just bought it for, just to kind of appease his customers. And which brings me to my next question, which is around the labor market, around hiring, because we've seen a lot of people still continue to, they're hesitant to go back to work because of the pandemic, because of everything going on. So I'll start with Alex this time. From a restaurant perspective, have you faced any challenges around hiring? And if you have, what resources have you used to help with this problem?
Yes, to say the least. The hiring needs have it's been a very tough for us to find, especially with a lot of people, like you said, not working, getting the unemployment benefits. If some staff leaves us or whatever job that happens, it's gonna really affect us because literally there's no one else. We haven't had an applicant. It was so scary. We used to get applicants at least once a week. Now we're getting applicants once a month, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And these, not to say that they're correct candidates for the job, And we've even been trying to do Indeed and all that stuff. But honestly, to answer your question, I don't know because we haven't seen a return on that. And Indeed, when we would invest in money, we'd probably get in 10 applicants. And out of those 10 applicants, maybe 2 potentials.
Wow.
And that's with pumping in money into it. So for us, it's very difficult. It's a lot of word of mouth, especially if you're trying to find cooks or something in the back. Those are all word of mouth. They're not using those type of technology in order to get the job. So it's been very interesting. So hopefully it starts going back into normal when people wanted to search for jobs in September, but it did really affect us and did really hurt us. So I guess to answer, just tell your shop, hey guys, we are hiring. That's one thing that really helped because we do have over 25 staff members in our location. Hey, we do need this. Ask other locations too. Hey guys, please put in a word of mouth that our locations are bartender, cook, a dishwasher, whatever it may be, and just see what you can find.
Yeah. Such a challenge right now. I mean, we have quite a bit of openings, even with One West Bank, and we had to resort to doing a job fair, and just having people show up and submitting their resumes. And I think it's to be honest, it's still been a challenge because we've seen that there's so many people who do want to come back, but one, they're not qualified, or two, they're overqualified. So where do you find that balance? That's been such a challenge. And you did mention that you had to increase the salary, correct? Is that correct? By chance, can you talk about what percentage you had to increase by or what you normally would pay?
So, well, the thing is that we used to operate at under 25, so we used to be at a different cap. So with us, with the minimum wage, we only increased it maybe probably 3%, but it did something. So you have to understand when it comes to restaurants, it's a little bit different. When it comes to the floor staff, they're mainly in for their tips. And in the kitchen staff, that's where you get in trouble because they don't get those and they don't see those. So it's a big increase we had to do in the kitchen. I mean, it's a big jump that we had to do of increasing our wages, but we were 3%, I'd probably say that's the word.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, and speaking of the wage increase, seeing that companies are willing to pay more for staff, one of the things that we've been seeing with One West Bank is, or just really any other banking institution, is that people are leaving because they know that other companies are willing to pay more because they're having such a challenging time to find employees. So, sometimes it could mean a couple of dollars per hour with another company. And not necessarily saying that company is better or worse, but they'd rather take the pay in the meantime.
Just to add, Dillon, real quick, just what you said, just to piggyback off it. You're talking about our restaurant, which requires a lot, which is the garnishes, like the guacamole with the sour cream and with stacking plates and the presentation we take pride of. You're talking about Panda Express, who's offering more pay, who's less work. Yes, it's more orders, but less, I guess, of the hassle of it. And it's very difficult to match what they pay because we can't. At the end of the day, we can't. We would love to. I would love to increase it if I could pay that, I would. But unfortunately, we can't. So a lot of these small restaurants are competing against these big industries that are paying, starting off at $18 an hour or something, and it's something that we can't afford.
Yeah.
And what's hurting small businesses, what's hurting restaurants, what's hurting any business, I guess you could say, that starts with with the minimum wage.
It's funny because you're not just seeing restaurants competing against each other for service and for customers. You're now competing for employees, for people to work for you, which is a new level that we've probably never seen before to this extent. So, and I do want to pose the same question to Kelly. You did mention that your employees came back, but did you have to rehire, or what was that process?
Actually, I only got one employee back. So I had to rehire, and I struggled. I struggled a lot until I finally, what I do, and I do this in business for myself, is I'm like, okay, who do I respect? Who do I trust? Because I find that if you say you need somebody to bake cookies, everybody's granddaughter is a baker. They probably are. But it's, we do the custom. It's very skilled. So I reached out to anybody that I knew me and knew my standards and knew my business culture. And I had somebody pull through, and I have the best staff I've ever had. I have 3 new girls. They all came from the first one who told the next one. It's their first job, so increased payroll hasn't been a problem. They're all really happy to be baking cookies for their first job. So it was a little different for me. It's worked out really phenomenally. And then I have 3 interns through the city program right now. And I love being that experience for them. So we have a really great environment right now in the shop. It's really been fun and nice to have that after a year of being there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, sometimes I wish we could have interns, but it doesn't work for me. Because staffing is really, really a challenge here and there. And Adam, I'll go ahead and pose the same question to you. You have 1 employee here with us today. What are some of the challenges you're facing around hiring? Have you used any resources, and then have you considered increasing pay?
Yes. I think that it's an interesting question because hiring is something I've been very focused on right now, not specifically for my business, but actually for the Chamber of Commerce. And it's something we've been working on. And one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about, you guys, mentioned like Indeed and some of these sites that, whether you pay for them. And I guess I want to send a message out to the people at home, through the camera here, that might be listening and looking for a job, is to be cognizant of who you're applying to. The pool right now is so diverse. You mentioned overqualified and underqualified. But one of the challenges as an employer is weeding through that to find the people that are the right fit. And when applicants are just randomly applying for everything that they can find, it's making it more difficult for them and others to find the right fits. And from a pricing perspective, it's interesting because sites like Indeed, you actually the employer pays for each applicant that comes in. It's $15. So people at home are just randomly going, sure, I could do that, sure, I can do that. That's like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The employers are paying $15 a piece, and pretty soon the employers are gonna go, I ain't paying for this anymore. So it's kind of weird right now that, I've been hiring for, I don't know how many years I've been hiring for various companies, and I've seen diverse pools, but nothing like what's coming in right now. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember Indeed when it used to be free, and
Well, it's free, but then you don't get any
you
applications.
don't get any applications. But I used to go through Indeed to find applicants as well. But even right now, I think, like you mentioned, the problem is overqualified, underqualified, and then if they're just right, we bring them in, and there's times when they pull out last minute and say, oh, I got a better offer elsewhere. So there's so many levels of challenges that you're facing surrounding hiring. So go ahead, Kelly.
Can I just say, did somebody just come in and ask if they could work for you? What happened to everything being online? The one employee that didn't come back is the one that walked into my shop one day and said, can I work here? And I said, I don't know, let's see, come spend a few hours with me tomorrow. She's still here, so just go ask somebody.
And if you want to see a perfect example of somebody who took the initiative to do that, she's sitting in the back of the room right there. Our interim manager, Miranda, from Texas, picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, I'm wondering if you guys might be hiring. And I think there was some divine intervention that happened there for someone from Texas to call me. But it's a perfect example of it's businesses. We're looking for people that take that initiative. And I miss those days because there was a time when we didn't really have to seek out applicants as much. They were just kind of walk in the door with a resume and it was great. But I don't know if it's a generational thing or what. Social media has made us lazy. I don't know.
Yeah. And with so many people leaving California, it's great to see a Texan coming to California. So thank you. Welcome to California.
I'm trying to set an example.
Hopefully we get more Texans in.
Maybe we should have had a psychological evaluation in Texas.
Well, you know how you've probably all heard the term Texans say, and I'm not one of them, obviously, so don't shoot daggers. They say don't California my Texas. Have you heard that term?
Oh, yeah.
I started telling friends that have started coming to visit me, don't Texas my California. We like it how it is.
No, thank you. And welcome to California. And we enjoy having Miranda being with us, and it's great that we were able to find her to be a part of the chamber. So hopefully, we find the same luck with our own individual businesses as well moving forward. So I kind of went through the meat of the questions where it was kind of the rocky river or rocky oceans that we're dealing with right now with inflation and hiring. I'm kind of curious about more of your individual business goals, more about what you guys are planning to do moving forward to grow your business, and kind of about your plan. So I'll open this up to whoever wants to go first. So what are your plans as far as growing your business moving forward? And anyone can start.
Grow.
It's a little bit difficult. I'm sorry. It's a little bit difficult to answer that. especially, I'm just speaking for the restaurant industry. For the restaurant industry, especially with the closures happening, with the way things are going, it's kind of hard to have a legit plan of how we're going to do so. We can have something of, oh, if this happens, if something goes south, a plan for that. But in moving forward, I just guess having our goals is continuing that service and continuing that customer base, continuing the presentation, continuing what we've been doing for years, and that's what we specialize in, and continue doing that. And I guess that's one of our goals, is to stay consistent throughout the years. And I feel like a lot of businesses don't stay consistent, and either they want to try something new, which is okay to try something new. However, master your craft, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I don't think Cabrera has much to worry about.
For me, it's, everybody talks about their 5-year plan. I had a 5-year plan. I opened my business just not long before the pandemic hit. So that's it. I don't have a 5-year plan. I'm trying to figure out, I kind of have a 2-year plan, but it's so unstable that that's gonna fluctuate. And so my goal is to just ride that wave and stay through it. I do have an 8-year plan and I do have a 10-year plan. But right now, no, not at all.
Well, and I mean, planning is one of those things that we all do a really great job when we first open the business as to what our plans are. I recently went back and revisited my business plan from when I first opened. I was like, wow, I'm way off. But that's okay. And I think that's an important part of owning a business, is doing that regularly. Plans change, and that's okay. I mean, we just passed our 5-year anniversary in the middle of a pandemic, and we're coming up on our 6th year now. And it was the weirdest time to hit a 5-year mark. Where I'm like, my 5-year plan was to be much further than we were, but all of a sudden my 5-year plan became keep my lights on. And, so growth, I think, is accurate, but I think stability is more, I think, what all of us are starting to look at. And for me, I'm at a point where, we're going back to planning again, where it's going back to the original strategy, saying, okay, what's worked, what hasn't, what have we learned from the last year that we can take moving forward? One of the strategies that I've been implementing has been seminars. Ironic that we're in a seminar, but offering my own seminars for my customers. And it's worked out really well. And that's something that's becoming a part of my regular plan from a marketing perspective, is to build those in regularly because it's allowed me to reach a customer base in a completely new way. So taking things like that and working them into the plan, I think, is important. I think just planning in period it's tough when you're coming out of a period of survival mode. But I think a lot of us are at a point where we can start doing that again.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I was, when I planned this out, I was thinking, well, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, but everyone's talking about, well, what am I doing next week? But, and this will, things like this will do that to you. It kind of opens your eye and make you reconsider and replan, reevaluate what is your next steps. And I think it's even if we weren't in this pandemic, I think it kind of shed a light for everyone to kind of readjust, replan, even when things are great, right? Let's look at what's really happening with business, what's really happening with your personal life as well, and let's readjust if we need to. But just reevaluate is so important. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from what you guys just really mentioned here. So if anything that came out of the pandemic that was really positive for me was that just any time is a good time to reevaluate, even when things are great. And this kind of leads me to my final question to the panel. So knowing what you know with the pandemic, knowing what you know what everything was going to be like, how would you have adjusted to business needs? And would you have done anything different that you were doing during the pandemic? And I'll start with Abby, please.
Well, yeah, all those things that didn't stick to the wall, I wouldn't have done them. I mean, yes, It's easy to look back in retrospect and say, yeah, you know, I could have done this differently, or could have done that differently. But at the same time, how do you plan for, you know, the complete unknown? You know, when we got that text message that everything shut down, you know, I felt it coming. You know, I felt like something was in the air. But when it hit, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, like this is now, like we don't have time. So there's certainly things that I would have done to prepare a little bit more for that. I would have gotten some invoices paid for my customers before the pandemic shut them down. That would have been nice. You know, I would have ordered a little bit less stock to have on hand at times. And, you know, yeah, I think for me, the big thing that I would do differently though is I would have doubled down on marketing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was kind of a ramp up. As I ramped up on marketing, that I realized it was working. I would have just listened to my own advice that I tell my customers to focus on marketing more.
Yeah. Kelly?
I don't think I would have done anything any different. I think I just stayed true to myself and my mission statement and the culture of my business, and did what I could for the clients. I feel like I rode through it pretty well.
Well, that's what happens when you were successful during the pandemic and changed your ways. And you did amazing, Kelly, and just congratulations.
Thank you.
With everything you've done. And over to you, Alex.
Same with Kelly. I wouldn't change anything. I feel like as long as I've been in management, or I guess in the management structure with my family's business, it's taught me all the skills I needed to during this time. I feel like this time had to happen for us, and I did the best I could. We did the best we could as a company, pivoting, lowering costs where we could, and marketing, doing everything. It was scary times, and I wouldn't change anything in the world. This was a ride, and this was something that I feel like our staff was not prepared for, and I wish there's little things that we could have maneuvered. But like Adam said, there's things that you could have changed. There's stocks that we had a lot of meat, especially like, no, we're not gonna order anything. Like, no, recipes, no, we had to discontinue some dishes.
Yeah.
It was a learning process, and I'm glad I was able to learn through that process. Yes, it was stressful, but I wouldn't change anything about it. I say I had fun, I guess you could say, and we completely flourished during this time of going outside and having our outside patio. Even in the future, soon we will have an outdoor patio, so
That's awesome. And it just, you know, from what you're telling me, it just sounds like, you know, you guys went to what you said, 36 years. It just sounds like you guys just really have a strong foundation. And I think sometimes it's strong foundation is really what you need. And for other people, it's about making changes and adapting to it. So it just depends which one really worked for you. That kind of Adam mentioned, you just have to try different things. But I'm just happy you guys have a strong foundation. Looking forward to future breakfasts there. We often struggle as a chamber to find volunteers who want to participate to help us plan these events for these small businesses. You know, in order for us to promote your business, you also have to promote yourself. And I think that's the most important part. You know, if you want to promote within the community, you are a member of the chamber, you know, come out and be out in the community and put your face out there. And I think that's the best way you can promote yourself. And I'll end my point there. I can go on all day about this. And we're already cutting it close to 1 o'clock. I thank everyone for being here today. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you to the panelists. I do want to set a reminder that we do, Adam here is having a political campaign branding workshop on July 29th if you're able to attend. It's from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for anyone who's looking to get into political campaigns. And we do plan on having this business seminar once a quarter. So if you guys have any ideas, anything that you'd like to hear from us, please feel free to reach out at any time. So thank you everyone for being here today.